Everything is with my OK cup from Sheets. It's cold outside. So here's to Steve, Lou, and Stan, and Joe Jr. in Altoona. They, of course, big Penn State fans. They'd like to see that young man from Clairton matriculate, as they say, to State College. Lamont Wade, what do you think? Tomorrow?
I don't know. I really don't have a good feel. There's been a lot of talk that he wants to go away and not be in the mold of Tyler Boyd at Pitt or go local to Penn State or West Virginia. Penn State fans are very hopeful he's going to go there based on their last year. And Tennessee and UCLA are in on him. You know who's recruiting him for UCLA.
Tom Bradley. Merry Christmas, Tom.
We'll see. I mean, he's down to 5 schools, the 3 locals in Tennessee and UCLA. We'll see what his decision. I don't pretend to know what he's thinking. And I know at times he's liked all the schools, which is why he's in this position.
Listen, before we get to what we're all about, Penguins hockey and, of course, the Steelers and Pitt basketball tomorrow, a quiet moment and a moment to reflect on one of my favorites. And, you know, I never had a holiday off, and I'm sure you've worked a few in your life, because that's what we do. And there's that brand that is the NBA that, because of them, I've always enjoyed basketball on Christmas Day. And because of this gentleman, I've always enjoyed basketball, especially how it's grown on that Ted Turner brand that's TNT. Craig Sager passed away at the age of 65 after a long battle with leukemia, known for his very flamboyant sports coats. Yes. Yeah. He was also known for a number of other things, pure class and a professional. And I watched him do golf. I watched him do NASCAR. I watched the guy grow up on television as really one of the driving forces in the industry, but more importantly, putting the NBA on the map. But from what everybody has said, much too young to die, and an all-around great guy.
It passed away due to the complications of leukemia. And, you know, Sager was a personality. He wore those suits, but he wasn't... He didn't go out of his way to make it about him. Even though he wore those crazy suits, it wasn't like one of those guys like, watch me, look at me. He was about the game. He wore the suits for whatever reason he wore them. He liked to have a cocktail, which is nothing wrong with that.
Cheers. And
I tell you what, I didn't know much about the man until he had this battle with leukemia.
What a fighter.
Yes. And he's someone people should look up to for what he did in that situation. He didn't quit. He fought till the end. And I think people recognize that as much as anything for the way he battled through adversity.
Greg Popovich, legendary NBA coach, when you get recognized by your peers, people that really, you're out there to keep on the straight and narrow and cover the story. LeBron James, they love this guy. He went and visited him. I mean, I think that says volumes of who he was.
Yeah, I mean, they thought highly. He was a part of their family, and I think that's the best way to put it. He was one of them. Even though he didn't play the game, never did, I mean, on a professional level, he was a part of the NBA family, and he'll be missed.
Absolutely. David Levy said the exact same thing, the president of Turner Broadcasting in the way of TNT basketball, and they will be there on Christmas Day. And again, thoughts and prayers go out to the Sager family. Now we talk about the Penguins, who have been streaking of late. Sidney Crosby just has been unbelievable, and they are leading the Metropolitan Division. But when you look at the Rangers and the Flyers, I mean, it's just been lights-out hockey in that part of the country, which is the Metropolitan Division. Tonight, the LA Kings come a-calling.
Matt Murray will go tonight, and probably Fleury tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll see how it plays out, but you know, Murray has been really good. I mean, it's hard to argue. Has he made mistakes? Yes, but he's been really solid. Here's an interesting stat that the Pens threw out. In the 6-game home winning streak, in those games, 21 different players have a point.
Pretty special.
I mean, so it's not as great as Sid has been. It's not just Sid. We saw Brian Russ score the game winner in overtime the other night. Sherry has stepped up. Bonino has stepped up. Schultz has stepped up. Cole has stepped up. I mean, all these different guys, they're getting goals and points from all these guys they didn't before, which makes you optimistic that they'll be able to overcome, but still, they're going to be without Chris Letang, who maybe his numbers aren't what they've been in the past.
I'm hearing
what
weeks.
He does.
Weeks?
Yes, a couple of weeks is what they said. But what he does on that ice is huge. They've got 5 games before Christmas. They get a break for Christmas, have a couple of games, and then they have a bye week. This is something new in the NHL. They have a bye week the first week of January. So it probably guess second week of January we'd see Letang back. If they're cautious, depends on how he recovers. But obviously that's a guy you would rather be cautious than rush.
Yeah, 19 points, 7 assists in his last 7 games. He will be missed.
The other thing that it's big for, this is an opportunity for Derek Pouliot. How many times he's had a chance. This is going to be a couple weeks where if he comes out, and we don't know who's playing tonight at this point, if it's going to be him or Alexei. But if, let's say it is Pouliot, has a good game, builds that confidence, he could find himself right back into the plans for the Penguins next year when guys like Justin Schultz are going to be a free agent. So this is a huge time for Pouliot, and maybe his chance to show what he's worth.
All right, now we move on to Pitt basketball. They've got Rice coming up, and you'll hear it on 93.7 The Fan tomorrow.
Jim Colony on the call.
Nice, James.
He'll be calling the play-by-play with Dick Grote. Rice is 8-2. I mean, Rice is decent. They hit a ton of threes. They've got a guy on their team right now who's hitting over 60% from 3. And he's not like 6 of 10. I mean, he's taken a lot of shots, and he's obviously making a lot of shots. Now, they haven't played a ton of good competition. They had a 1-point loss to Texas Tech. But, you don't know what you're going to get from Pitt. I mean, what you have gotten normally are really good first halves, and then they trail off in the second and find a way to hold on and win. Rice is a team they should beat, but what you want to see is more consistency. Have a big first half and then allow that bench to play, because they still have some question marks beyond Ryan Luther, and maybe Justice Kithcart is the 7th, but they've got some questions on that bench that they need to answer.
All right, basketball. Let's talk LeBron James. Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving didn't go to Memphis the other night. I don't think the place was sold out, even though the Grizzlies got the win, because everybody, even on the road, loves to see those guys play basketball, the reigning NBA champs. They've got the L.A. Lakers at the Quicken Loans Arena tomorrow night. It's amazing to me what LeBron James has done for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
It's a whole different look at Cleveland, especially that basketball team. It's not if they can do it. Obviously, they got over the hump, and now stay in Toronto. They're the kings of the East. Then there's some middling teams in there. Out west, there's about 7 really good teams. Golden State is obviously the best. There's a lot better, and it's been like this for the last few years, where there's a lot of good competition out west, and then 1 or 2 teams that can compete with the West out east. And I think it's the same thing this year. Here's what's interesting. You mentioned LeBron and Memphis.
Right.
They didn't bring their 3 stars. Didn't even bring them, because they want to rest their guys. Mm-hmm. Popovich kind of started this with the Spurs. Hey, it stinks if you bought a ticket. If you're Memphis, say you drove up from wherever and went to that game because you wanted to see LeBron. Here's a note to the owners. Don't schedule so many back-to-backs. Either limit the season or spread it out over amount of time, but what they're doing is prudent. Now, I'd also say these coaches could cut back on practice time so these guys would play in games. But if you're good enough to where you can throw games and not have it bother you or not affect you in the standings, then you've got to do what you got to do as a coach, and I'm sorry, fans. It's just the way it is.
Well, look at it this way. There's people still in Memphis driving to Graceland to see Elvis, and he's no longer there, and they're paying good money, so it all works out. All right, now, talk to me about the Steelers.
So will he come and be the Vontaze Burfict fired up, and all of a sudden that's going to bring something out in him that we haven't seen? Are the Steelers going to react to it? What's going to happen if someone goes low on Le'Veon Bell? Even if they don't injure him, what's the reaction going to be from the Steelers? It's easy to talk a game when you're not in the heat of it, to say, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do that. But then when the emotions get going and something happens, we'll see. I mean, this is still a big game for the Steelers. The Eagles are going to be without Darren Sproles. I think Philly's just done. I think Baltimore's going to crush them. So if you lose that game, it's an opportunity lost for the Steelers.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, he is our sports director at News Radio 1020 KDK and 93.7 The Fan. Jeff Hathorne is what he is, and what he's all about is sports. So have a great rest of your weekend. Stay warm.